How's it going, everybody? It's Eong here, and welcome to day 33 of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Before you proceed, I highly recommend you check out day 34, in which I discussed rumors from website Kotaku that Final Fantasy Versus 13 had allegedly been cancelled, when in fact it was around that time that the title was transitioning to become Final Fantasy XV. In this video, I'll be discussing a big hint from 2013 that Versus 13 would incur a major shift in development. After Kotaku released their article on July 20th, 2012, detailing how Versus 13 came to be allegedly cancelled, the rest of the year would end up being uneventful for the highly anticipated title. Despite director Tetsuya Nomura having promised new information for the year, once again, a promise was broken. To add insult to injury, on August 31st, 2012, Square Enix announced during their Final Fantasy Experience event a third Final Fantasy XIII game, Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. Just think about that for a second. 3 games of what many consider to be the worst numbered entry in the Final Fantasy series were created before the launch of Versus 13. Suffice to say that many did not take kindly to this announcement, wondering just what the hell Square Enix was thinking when they decided to give fans more of what they didn't want. And then the rest of the year was just more of Square Enix asking for our patience and apologizing for the delay and the lack of information, but at this point, a lot of people just stopped caring and they were fed up with it. Thus, 2012 came and went, which brings us to 2013. The first major development of the year would occur on February 21st, 2013. On that date, Sony hosted the PlayStation 4 announcement event, where they announced the console for the first time before the full unveiling 4 months later during E3 2013. During the press conference, one Shinji Hashimoto, the brand director of Final Fantasy, took the stage to make one announcement.
I would also like to announce that we are preparing for development of a Final Fantasy title. Please be excited for E3 this year.
At the time the little announcement left many Final Fantasy fans with a mixture of excitement and confusion. While the prospect of a Final Fantasy game for PlayStation 4 was certainly exciting, there were also those who wondered about the state of Versus 13. Looking back at this now, it's quite obvious that Hashimoto was talking about the eventual announcement of Final Fantasy Versus 13 becoming Final Fantasy 15 at E3 2013. But keep in mind that back then there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding the now 7 years old title. Not to say that there weren't those who came to assume that Hashimoto was alluding to the announcement of something along the lines of a PS4 version of Versus 13. But with how vague his statement was, there were also those who thought it was entirely possible he was referring to a new Final Fantasy title for PS4 that they were planning to co-develop alongside Versus 13. Under normal circumstances, this would sound pretty ridiculous, but considering that 4 Final Fantasy titles had already released from the time Versus 13 had been announced to the time of the PlayStation 4 announcement, 13, 13-2, Type 0, and Lightning Returns, this didn't feel like it was outside the realm of possibility back then. Fortunately, we would learn that Square Enix decided to do the smart thing and announce that the entire project of Versus 13 was completely shifted to the next generation of consoles. But this is a topic for another video, so with that, I would like to conclude today's episode of the Final Fantasy XV Countdown Retrospective. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below what your train of thought was when Hashimoto made that statement during Sony's PS4 announcement event. And to be further updated on all things Final Fantasy, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.